other things can I put money into that will help to multiply this money I'm making via salaries? And while I was researching, real estate was one thing that came into play, and I decided to invest in real estate. I had to ask questions, I had to query, Uchee, are we sure? These factors affected my decision to invest, with him.
Now let's dive down into investments and your investment journey so far, because I know that you probably, at least through me, you've gotten, I think, 2 properties now, and we're already making plans for other ones. So what has your journey been like? What was the first real estate investment? What was the first one you made?
Okay, thank you for that. So my very first real estate journey or real estate investments was sometime in 2015. 14, 15, thereabout. Like I think 14, 15, yeah.
Yeah, 15.
So that's over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was still in university then. I was an undergraduate. So I had this man, like a mentor, role model kind of person. And he told me about a land somewhere within the north central part of Nigeria. And it was very close to the country's capital. Okay, and so he told me about it, that even if it was just one plot of land, and I was still young then, just a young boy yet to finish school. And I just finished, or I was doing my undergraduate internship. All right. So because I didn't have 100% of the money, but I did my IT in a fairly good place where I raised money, and I was also working. I did some other things, like I did home lessons for children, rich parents, and I made some money. All right. So, and I was saving. So I spoke to this close friend of mine. I said, there's this land that somebody is asking us to buy. I don't have 100% of the money. Can we share it 50-50? And we're going to prepare a document and all of that, and it will be shared ownership. So we got a lawyer. The lawyer stated clearly it will be owned by both of us. This, that. And then that was how, in fact, God so kind, the man also gave, because we didn't have the money at once. So we only committed, I don't remember how much, but we paid maybe like 50% of the money. And we now paid the remaining in installments spread across a few months. And that was how we became landowners at very young ages. This is over 10, 11 years now. 10, 11 years now. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, that was my first.
Wow. That means, and if we go by, considering the place you're talking about, I think it's maybe between Nasarawa and Abuja.
Yes. So
those places, maybe the appreciation level of that place could be getting, if not more than even 100%.
Maybe, yeah.
So, but what's the status of the documentation for that one?
Yeah. So because we were still young, naive, so we just did it. We did not. It's just even now we are discussing compared to when I bought lands from you, and then you gave me the conveyance, the receipts. Then we just were excited young boys and wanted to make investment, right? So I remember we were giving receipts. There's also the agreement from the lawyer, but I need to go and check my archives for those documents. And if they are not, I need to begin to chase them now because I only bought them for future. I just bought them like, okay, we don't know where it's going to lead us to. 100. I don't know, we'll still be like 100 years from now, but 30, 40, 50 years from now. So that was just like a future investment that I'd even abandoned somewhere, and we'll go back to it later. And I remember my friend and I had a clause. We said we were going to hold the land for 5 years, and that after 5 years, if any of us was not interested, we will value the land at that time, and one person will pay off the other.
Wow.
It's been 5 years over now, none of us is interested in selling to the other. So we just...
the funny thing about this is that I just recently started something like that, and there was a property, a group of persons, friends also, I got them to purchase last year. They purchased this property at 6 million.
Okay.
And they got 2 plots of land. And now the properties are worth 8 million.
Wow.
And the funny thing about that is that someone just paid only 940,000 naira. And he has a share in a 16 million naira capital. So I think sometimes people think you need to have all the money.
No. I told you we were very young boys then. And God so kind, that, and the man so kind, he allowed us to pay instrumentally, right? And there are many other real estate companies like that, including when I even bought through Uchee. You may not need to pay all at once, but you have to be a credible person anyway.
Exactly. There was something you said that people take for granted. You see that part of law and that part of agreement. Please. If you are watching this, no matter how friendly you are with somebody, make sure there's an agreement. Because people can change you.
Very true.
We might go back to that property now. That property, maybe you bought it at 500,000 and now it's worth maybe 20 million.
And then we begin to
argue ownership. It's possible.
That's why we abandoned that land for we don't know when. Maybe to even pay one of us children's school fees.
Yes, it's possible. And there's no other investment on it. You're not doing anything.
But
I think you guys should go and check. if it's not fenced, you should
maybe
fence
fence
it.
it. I will
and then-
revisit that land.
Yeah.
But we knew enough to get a lawyer involved
Mm.
and come up with an agreement signed. And I mean, I know we did that back then, and I have that document.
So now, how do you feel about making that decision?
Yeah, then I mean, looking at it now, I'm proud of my younger self because I'm like, what was I even thinking?
Exactly. I didn't even know it's about yesterday that
I
time.
so much, right? I could have bought the latest iPhone or the latest
Yeah.
whatever phone, but we're just young. I said, still undergrad, we've not even graduated. We're just
Wow.
young, so
Wow.
just naive, and we just said, let's give it a try. And I'm proud of my younger self that I could even not only buy, but I could convince another friend for us to collaborate. I think it was one plot, so we own half our plots.
Wow.
As young people then. So yeah, I feel proud of myself, and that has also spurred me when I now started making money, earning salaries. Real estate was one thing I didn't like.
That you
take
really
too much.
wanted
I really,
to get
just
into.
delved into it.
So now, what can you say has been the most rewarding part of this?
Okay, so I mean, I remember I was talking with Uchee sometime last year, and I was trying to tell him, one of these properties I bought, the first one I had bought about 3 years, I don't know how many years ago now, and he was telling me how the property had appreciated by about maybe 50% thereabout. I'm like, okay, don't worry, leave it there. I'm not ready. I'm waiting. Let's see the appreciate to even 400%. Yeah. So for me, real estate for me now, although this year I want to have another approach to real estate, even if I've not discussed with Uche yet. But my real estate journey before now was buying for abandonment. I just wanted to buy and forget about it. And 10 years, 20 years, as God keeps us alive, I will go back and see, because I've heard a lot of young people say a land. I remember a particular popular pastor was talking about a land that they were trying to buy for the church, for their church, and that's when they checked the documents of that land, whether they bought it for 250 or 500k, between 250 500,000, and now the man is old, the person who bought the land, and it's his children who are negotiating, and the land is in billions.
In billions, yes.
Billions.
I think I heard that story too.
Yeah. So that's my mindset. So I'm not buying because I want to sell tomorrow. I'm buying and I want to see it appreciate 10, 20, 30 years from now. Yeah.
You know, this thing you're saying, there's another very popular real estate guy, which is Pastor Ashimolo.
Yeah.
And I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he talked about how that currently there are some of the properties that they bought some 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And they are not ready to sell it.
Yeah.
He said if you see the value of those properties alone, and they're not ready to sell. So because this thing you're saying, some persons come in and they buy a property and next how much? How is it? How is it going now? And I tell you, it's not everybody that should buy land.
If you want to do real estate, you have to be patient. Real estate is not MMM. If you don't know MMM is like a Ponzi scheme, right? So real estate is
MMM.
And that's one thing about younger people. We want to get rich quick.
Sharp.
It doesn't always work that way. Wealth is built. You don't blow. Somebody said that when there's difference between growing and blowing, right? So when you blowing is usually like when there is an explosion. It has a negative effect most times. But when you grow, it's sustained. You understand? So for me, I mean, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but for me, I would rather grow into wealth. And so real estate, you need to be patient. You need to see it go. And patient doesn't mean you need to wait for 50 years. Or patient also means that you don't need, I invested this year, I want to see returns next year. It doesn't always work that way, right? So
I think for you, because considering how you invest, I remember how we wanted to do something before, but you just take your time.
Yeah.
And then when you were ready, you did another one. You did it based on, I remember how we had to do so many analysis. Can this work with this? How many years? This is something I also do. And I tell people that if you want to buy a property, yes, it's good. You see a property advertised 1 million naira. Ask yourself one question. How long are you really ready to wait for this property to appreciate? It's easy for you to buy a property of 10 million naira and you can expect a return in 5 years. But you don't buy a property of 1 million naira and you are asking the agent or the realtor, how far now? When is it going to appreciate now? Those kind of things. And okay, let me ask you this question. Have you had any fears or doubts along the way? And how did you overcome them?
Yeah, of course. If I'm just giving examples now, so I don't need anybody to come and arrest me. But imagine I want to buy a land for 10 million, right? If I've worked for 10 million, that's hard-earned money. And now I'm about to put 10 million, and maybe I even want to buy 2 plots of land, 20 million, in somewhere that I'm not very sure about. Most times we work in faith or with foresight, depending on how you see it. So I've had my doubts, am I sure? And that's where due diligence comes in. But there's nobody who is 100% sure about anything in this life. Even you cannot tell that by this time tomorrow I'll be alive. We all walk by faith. You understand? So, and they usually say that there's this wise saying that the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. and then the next best time is now.
Wow.
You understand? So why you keep on analysis paralysis? People are already cashing out. So you have to do your best investigation, your best findings, and you must eventually launch into the deep. You must eventually. So yeah, there's been those fears, but I had to overcome my fears, do my due diligence, ensure you're working with a company or an individual that is very, 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 I mean, has that integrity. And you just have to. You just have to. You cannot keep on saying, I will not go out to the farm. There's a lion out there. There's a lion out there. You will never go out. Right?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you think that maybe you've never invested in real estate, maybe this is the first time you're considering it, and you're wondering, maybe because I'm afraid, that means it's not the right. Maybe God is telling me not to do. My dear, you would be afraid.
Yeah.
Get even 1 million naira, 2 million, except you did not work for the money.
Yeah.
But if you work for any amount of money, you are actually entitled to ask questions. Yeah, there are people that have asked me questions that sometimes when I look at those questions, I'm like, oh my God. But then when I remember that, man, this guy worked for this money. So he's entitled to know how exactly his money is going, what he's getting out of it. And then I'm like, okay, no problem. Ask your questions, visit the site. Whatever you're being told, you can do further research on that before putting your money. But if it's about fear and
you will always be scared. You do it afraid.
Do it afraid. Yeah. I mean, wealthy people don't get there by just wishing it or this thing. Everybody, if you want to get wealthy, you have to do it.
And just so you know, every wealthy person you see in life has had their own fair share of ups and downs. I had a story recently of one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria. I will not mention the name, but you can do your research. He had ordered a container load of a particular kind of goods. It was still on its way into the country on the sea when the federal government described those goods as contraband.
Jeez.
He had taken loans, he had taken, in fact, he almost wrecked him. He had to sell land, he had only 2 houses left. His house, the house he was staying, and one more, trying to pay back loans. You understand? So, but that guy is one of the wealthiest guys in Nigeria now. So everybody has had their own fair share. Dangote has had businesses that have failed,
that you probably have
never heard of.
Exactly.
You're only hearing about the one that worked.
Exactly.
This does not mean you should go into things blindly. Do your necessary due diligence. Make your findings. Find out, do they have an office? Find out, are they registered? Find out the necessary things. Are they genuine? But it doesn't mean you keep on saying, oh, I will not invest. I'm afraid.
All right. That will be all on the afraid episode. We're going to the next one.